NBA one shot.
Ah, well, another hometown boy ready to beat the place back. Cool, VJ Motion.
VJ going to the NBA one shot.
All right, CYC Nation, assemble. This is a protection order for VJ.
Welcome to the 10th Year Seniors Podcast Network. It was almost the unaccredited. It was the unaccredited for a while.
Yeah, a whole weekend.
Now we back to the accredited? Yeah. Okay.
Are we?
I kind of like the unaccredited thing though. It had like a bit of edge. It had something different.
It had the edge, but it still had scary hours while we were at the draft.
Scary hours. It reminded me of Chris Brown's song very early in his career. Like, why you hating from inside the club? You can't even get in.
Hey, you gotta be in the club. Though.
You gotta be in the club.
You gotta be in the club.
You know what? No. We just talked it out. We gotta stay accredited.
You gotta be in the club.
We gotta stay accredited. But obviously, we know what this one is about. There's been so much VJ Edgecombe talk, and there's gonna be a lot of VJ Edgecombe talk, hopefully, over the course of the next decade and a half. I want to say
at minimum 20-year career.
At minimum, but right now, you could not possibly get more media attention than VJ Edgecombe is getting. Whether it's the local media, whether it's the international media, his name is everywhere right now. And for us, this is a moment that is great to see because we really saw the genesis of this as him growing as a basketball player. But I actually want to start with where the story goes from here. Because over the course of the last week, since draft night, it's been talked about time and time again. We've heard of the origin story. We've heard of all of that. We're going to recap draft night, I promise you, but we just didn't want to lead with that. For me, I wanted us to actually talk about the basketball of this because none of the great stories matter if VJ Edgecombe isn't great at basketball.
And the good thing is, he is great at basketball.
Well, yeah, that's why we're here.
That's the perfect thing. So we're not saying he's not great. He's going to be great.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, everyone's question is, and we talked to Philly media members while we were at the draft, and we've been taking in all the content. You never really, I don't think they're accustomed to, and this is just getting the sense talking to them. They're not accustomed to Bahamian media members actually being able to talk about the X's and O's about this stuff and where these people actually fit in. All they want to hear about is the glorified rags to riches stories. No, we are going to begin this actually talking about the basketball and how he fits with Philly.
I mean, he fit with any team. Let's just throw that out there.
You are the biggest homer, but you're not wrong.
Yes. No, but for sure, we've been saying it from the beginning. The top 3 teams in this draft have the best scenario for the rookies coming in.
Absolutely.
Cooper with Dallas, Harper with the Spurs, now VJ with the 76ers. They do not have to be the guy. And that is so important because we live in a day and age where everyone's was talking about Ace Bailey. Oh, he could come in, he could average it. That's great. Averaging all those the empty numbers. Let's not be Kevin Love here. Let's be in a situation.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. Let's be in a situation where he is going to be able to be on a playoff team. How long did it take Buddy to get to the playoffs?
It feels like forever.
Forever. DeAndre was on a good team after year 2 or whatever. He was able to, year 2 onwards when they got Chris Paul.
Yeah, it took like 3 years. Mm-hmm.
Make the NBA Finals, be in the playoffs. All we want is VJ to be in meaningful basketball games. Not just a regular season, 82 games, and you call it a day. Look how much fun we had with Buddy.
So much fun.
When Buddy had games, and you see what...
Y'all remember Game 6?
You see what VJ said, what was your favorite playoff moment?
That was it?
Buddy's games.
That was it.
So it's like, that's what we live for. That's what we want to live for. We want to be able to say, yeah, the regular season cool. But
the ones that matter the most, the ones where the stakes are attached. And so the thing about it is where VJ fits with the 76ers, obviously a question there because last year they take Jared McCain in the first round. Jared McCain had a great rookie season before he got injured. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is the guy. Tyrese Maxey is an all-star. Your backcourt also has Quentin Grimes, who came on late for that team, is a restricted free agent, as of now, hasn't signed yet. So as we record this, still not sure where they're going to go with that. Is he going to demand too much money? Are they going to let him walk? Does drafting VJ mean they're going to let him walk? And of course, the albatross of Paul George is still hanging around over the franchise. So we don't know exactly where that's going to fit. Kelly Oubre just re-signed. So there is a lot in this Philadelphia backcourt and the wings. How do you see VJ fitting into that right away?
as we all said, defensively, he's going to fit in. He's already come out publicly saying, you got to play defense to be on the court, right?
I know every single coach had to be like, that's beautiful.
Yes.
I love that shit.
You know how mad the Knicks were that they couldn't get him? Well, Thibodeau's gone.
Yeah.
You know how mad he was then that he didn't have a chance to have a players talking about defense?
Yo, imagine
in
him
this day and age?
Imagine him playing in New York after playing there all throughout high school.
No, that would have been crazy.
That would have been insane.
That would have been insane. But it's refreshing to see a player come and just say, I'm going to do what coach tells me to do, but I'm going to play defense.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I'm playing defense so I'm on the court. And that's the beauty, and that's where VJ is going to make himself valuable. He's going to be too good not to be on the court. He's going to specialize, I feel, in defense before he gets his offense going in NBA. So don't, because he's not scoring a lot of points, he's going to get some dunks. Don't think he's not doing what he has to do.
You're going to have to talk to the Bahamian public again and again and remind them of that.
Y'all like C.I. Gibson basketball? Y'all like Anatol Roger? You see how they was them point guards hound the whole game? That could be VJ in the NBA.
You know what they love? Remember you was talking about Ace Bailey and empty numbers? That is what they love.
They do
because
like
I don't know how much basketball nuance the general public is going to have with this. But what you said about the position that the top 3 picks were going to be placed in, and I feel like this is why we were going to be happy if VJ went 2 or 3. I know you was thinking he was going to go 2, which would have been a great situation either way because
2 would have been something.
It would have been incredible, but neither one of them have to come in and be the guy right away. So the same thing we say about VJ, yeah, Dylan Harper can focus on one thing because he's playing behind De'Aaron Fox. They have a whole log jam in the backcourt too. Cooper Flag is playing with Hall of Famers and All-Stars right away, so he doesn't have to go in and have the burden of expectation. Same with VJ, and like you said, he don't need to be going out there and being the man. He didn't even have to be the man for Baylor every game. But it definitely doesn't have to be that now in Philadelphia. And
the thing I like about VJ's game is people don't like it, but I like it to a point where he defers. He knows it's not all about him. You got to find the open man.
That is what the Bahamian public's not going to like.
You got to be able... Look, everyone keeps saying... You have to have a high basketball IQ. When he was in Spain with the national team, he showed the high basketball IQ. He showed he could play with these guys. He showed that he could space the floor. Like, when the floor is spaced, it's all of a sudden dangerous at that point because their athleticism, that's what's going to be getting his buckets. He's going to be having people say Dwayne Wade. Yes, he's going to be Dwayne Wade going to the basket.
The D-Wade Oladipo comparisons. And before, I know people may mock that Oladipo comparison. Y'all have no idea what he was like coming out of Indiana.
Oladipo.
Because he was getting all the Dwayne Wade comparisons. Like, that was the same thing. And the spacing is important. And you know where, because in the college game, the lane is clogged.
Yeah.
It's not the same. But we saw how it looked at FIBA. And that's why I think the national team time was so important.
And you think about it, FIBA still, they don't have the 3-second in the paint rule.
Wide open driving
either.
lanes.
But it's still professionals playing, the spacing out, a lot of man-to-man. You don't see as much zone because at that level, everyone could pretty much shoot the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So VJ's role right now, I see him as they're not going to start him right away. And Daryl Morey was preaching having patience. So this is not a number 3 pick who we're going to just toss into the fire.
Which is
and
great.
It's gonna be
Which is refreshing.
Absolutely. I love that.
Which is refreshing to see because sometimes, like we said earlier, you cannot put all this pressure on these kids to perform. And then if they burn out or something doesn't go their way or something doesn't happen or they get hurt, then what? Oh, they're a bust. It's like, no, you have to slowly, gradually put some of these players in because
New Orleans gave the entire franchise to Zion Williamson and said, just go be great and make this happen. Did it happen?
No.
The Hornets did the same thing with LaMelo Ball. I don't think that process is going as well as anyone thought.
No.
So would you rather that happen and you get to see him chuck up 25 shots a game and they win maybe 20 games a year? Or would you rather a team that has a chance to be a legitimate contender?
Let's be real. You said Paul George, right? I think it's actually great to have Paul George.
No, I do.
Why? He has a veteran.
Yes.
He has someone that's in the league. We already heard on one of the podcasts, Paul George talk about VJ. I feel that once these teammates get to know him, they are going to be so in tune with VJ because they're just going to see he is a dog. He is one of those players, like in practice, he's always asking questions, making sure that's going on. He's probably the most competitive person I've seen.
I was about to say,
in a practice.
You had firsthand knowledge seeing this when a lot of people still didn't know. And VJ could have walked into the national team practices and be in awe of, wow, I'm on the same court as these NBA guys. Eric Gordon's been in the league like 15, 16 years. Buddy Hield is the biggest face in Bahamian basketball. You have a number 1 overall pick in DeAndre Ayton, but VJ Edgecombe was in those practices and his moments were the one that went viral. So I feel like the same thing is going to happen with the 76ers. And I think he complements the rotation so well because you have Maxime McCain, 2 smaller guards. You still need to have a physical wing defender. And I think right away, that's going to be VJ. I think he's going to be 6th or 7th in this rotation from opening night.
Let's just say, okay, I remember when Buddy went to the league, Buddy was, I would say, almost similar to stature in VJ. Yes. You could say they had the same body type.
Yeah.
I feel.
Oh, I thought you mean stature in terms of the hype and all of that stuff.
No. Of body type.
Yeah, the
height, build, everything, right? Yeah. I feel after this first year, you were going to see such a transformation from VJ with the proper weight room. Not saying that Baylor didn't have it, but he had to go to school. You know,
doing a little 5 months stint.
But now all of a sudden, you're going to see the transformation, and I feel he is going to put maybe 15 to 20 pounds of muscles on that first year.
Yeah, eventually that kind of thing is going to happen. And so we were talking about the contract situation, and we gotta mention Eric Gordon won't be back with the team. He exercised his player option, so that's one less guard in the rotation. A part of me wishes he was still there because you have someone with a pre-existing relationship with VJ, and it could have been a mentorship role beyond things with the 76ers because they had the national team experience together. But Eric Gordon made the choice to move on. So this is a team that's deep in the backcourt and at the wings. I do think they will be playing small ball.
Well, the thing with Eric Gordon is, he declined his option, but there's still, from what you read online, because there's still a chance for him to come back. And I don't see him. We're going to the little Eric thing. Eric does want to play for a contender. Let's just put it that way. Eric doesn't want to be in a rebuild. Last year, he might have had a sour taste of what happened with Philadelphia. But this year, it's just a whole different story. Like, if you get Embiid and Paul George back, those two alone, this is a playoff team.
And this is the segue I wanted us to get to because we started this whole segment by saying we wanted to see VJ play meaningful basketball, right? It don't get much more meaningful than where I think this team has a chance to go. I think Philly could actually make a run at the finals. Healthy Embiid, healthy Paul George, the East is wide open. Giannis and the Bucks, they don't have Damian Lillard. Halliburton just tore his Achilles. The Pacers are not going to be back there. Jason Tatum just tore his Achilles. The Celtics are not going to be back there. Point at the team in the East who you think is going to walk in there. This is not like the West. No. I feel like after so much people saw what the Pacers did with a wide open East, is it really that unforeseeable that a team with Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey makes it to the finals?
Yeah.
And
you said that yesterday, and it's like, no, you're right. The East is wide open. This year, everyone was thinking the Cavaliers are going to run away because of the regular season of what they had.
I even forgot about them, but you can't even think of them as
you could look at this Philly team right now, and you can say this is a top 4 team in the East, just with who's supposed to be coming back.
Top 4.
I mean, I'm giving the out of shape, getting sync. But you saw what the numbers were.
Other than the Cavs, right there.
Yeah, no, it's a possibility. And if that does happen, if they did make the finals, imagine how crazy the city would go. I don't think it'll go New York crazy, but boy, it would be a sight to see.
It's pretty close. I mean, I don't know if much people can match New York crazy, but yeah, that's, you know what? That's our hot, although I don't even think that's the hottest take. Yeah, this Philly team could absolutely make the run of the finals. Yes, it all hinges on your 2 superstars being healthy, but yeah, that's why you pay them so much money. Yeah. That's why you pay them the money that you pay them.
We know Joel makes the difference. Him being healthy on the court, and he just has to get healthy. So whatever it is, he needs to be healthy. Paul George has to be healthy too, but that's 50 points a night right there.
It should be, and that's not even taking Tyrese Maxey into account.
Exactly. We're not even thinking about him.
They have all of the pieces. They have a dominant presence inside. You have shooters. you have ball handlers, you have wing defenders, and the most important part of a championship puzzle.
Yeah, VJ.
Yes,
Boy.
and also someone from Kentucky.
No, I was about to say the Kentucky.
Also,
I know the Kentucky.
Also,
thing.
those things are important. All
Kentucky
right.
point guard.
All right, so let's take it back. Let's take it back to draft night and just talking about the moment for us as media members, but not just that, right? Because we're not. I wouldn't even want to limit it to that. Like, we're fans first. We're fans that happen to do this. So what it feels like being a media member, what it feels like being a fan, and you said this draft felt different for you personally because for 10YS as a platform, this was kind of the first time we saw someone who we covered very early on at that age kind of complete the dream, see the dream come to fruition from 13 all the way to the NBA.
Yeah, because so Buddy, we started the year that Buddy started like really going crazy in college pretty much. So we knew about Buddy, but like we didn't see Buddy while we were here.
That's when I was doing the archaic thing, like just writing.
Yeah.
Like for a newspaper. Who does that anymore?
Old school media, medium.
Terrible idea.
But then it was DeAndre. And DeAndre was something where we knew about him. We saw him play here, which was great because he always came home during Summer of Thunder and was able to get a couple runs in.
But by the time we saw him play here, he was already established.
He was already. We already knew he was a projected lottery pick that point.
We saw him at 12 at Jeff Rogers camp, and everyone was amazed that here was this phenom, and then yada yada yada. He left. By the time he came back, #1 prospect in America. That's how that one happened.
Exactly. And then Kai was basketball without borders, and he had a less meteoric rise than VJ because he was even though he was a 4-star, but it took him, I guess, longer to be able to get to that. And he made the NBA. And like I said, we'd known Kai when he was younger. We knew DeAndre when he was younger. Buddy, we were on the later end. But VJ, I was telling Nal yesterday, and I said, look, I know how important Sugar was in his life, right? Said he was going to make the league. I feel like I'm number 2.
You can never be number 2.
I feel like I'm number 2.
Because of his entire family. You're not going to be number 2. At best, I will give you number 34. There's probably 33 members of his family that thought he was going to get to the NBA.
I'll take number 3. He was drafted number 3.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but yeah. So with VJ, it was just, and this is where we always talk about it, bring back high school nationals, because it's an opportunity to see the best teams play each other. And you don't know who's going to be on the court at that time, right?
No.
There were hundreds of kids at that tournament, right? Hundreds. But then you might have a VJ. You might have that kid.
You don't have to be playing for the best teams. And the reason why the high school nationals and the exposure thing means so much, and this is something that you can't just overlook, because we always talk about it back in the day when we were paying attention to high school basketball, like even when we were playing, people got a chance to see one game on TV, and that's the Hugh Campbell Finals. So if you're not playing for one of those teams, people just don't see you. Gateway was never going to make the Final Four nationals, but you can find individual players that are great, that need that same kind of exposure. So yeah, don't limit it to just that one thing. Broaden your scope, because this is how recruiting and this is how development works now in 2025. And I think that's why his story matters so much, because of all of those things that you were saying, because we were able to literally see and chart that process. Like, people think it's so cool to see him in those old videos playing for Gateway. Well, yeah, that can happen literally every year if we give every single one of these events the type of exposure, or give these kids the type of exposure that they actually should be getting.
Meanwhile, we can go back and say, when we took on the Nationals job, and this is why we're different as a company. Not saying we're the best, but we're just super different as a company. The original...
Wait. What's wrong with saying we're the best?
I mean, we're not the best at everything. We're best at most stuff. I'm saying, like, production-wise back then, we weren't the best. We didn't have all the...
Here's where I disagree with that. Because you know what you always...
I'm looking at the technical side.
You know what you always tell me? You're the best if you're the only one that got it.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we were the best.
I learned that from you. If you're the only one that got it, you have to be the best
in the world.
So if we were the only people to see that this was important enough or worth doing, then yeah, we was the best.
So we did it, and the original plan was they only wanted one feature game a day. One feature game. And I remember... me and Now look at each other.
We had that conversation, like,
and we said, it can't be. And you always got to thank the people who have been with you from day one. All our cameramen, all the audio people.
We knew it was going to kick our ass. We knew it was going to kill us.
Everyone that we had there with us who has believed in our dream as well, they said, you know what? If y'all say we need to do it,
then let's go ride.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was a staff of like 5 or 6 people doing 4 or 5 games a day. We barely slept. It wasn't the most fun times, but everyone understood the bigger picture.
You know the thing about it though, and this is gonna cause us go off into another tangent, but when you explain it like that, it's not even difficult for the infrastructure to get done and for it to happen. Like if a private independent company of just a few people could go ahead and do this, and that could absolutely make a difference, then the fact that we're not doing it on a broader scale, the fact that we're just staying complacent in getting lucky with these stories, it's doing a disservice to the people that are coming after VJ.
But we are doing a disservice because, as I always say, and people will always come to me and say, sometimes, no, you should think more of what you did. And I always tell people, all right, I do my part, right? Small part, it ain't the whole thing. If I know that I'm 1% of what happened, cool. But the other 99% is reliant on how much do they want it.
Yeah.
Like I say, it comes from the VJ playing at Gateway, me talking to Nal in what was New York degree weather.
Yeah.
101 degrees with a heat index of 1 million. And like I say, I went to Nal maybe every 5 minutes. That's the one. That's the one.
It was every time he made a shot.
Yeah, and he made quite a bit of shots.
Yeah, it was every time he made a shot. But like you said, all of that would have fallen by the wayside if VJ didn't get the opportunity after that. If he didn't, well, you pushed for him to get to the buddy camp, but he still had to go to Florida and make a name for himself. Yep. He still had to go to Lehigh and come from seemingly out of nowhere to those people to becoming the top player in the state of New York in back-to-back years. And I need you to recognize how incredibly crazy that is in terms of that story. New York, what a lot of people still consider the mecca of basketball, of high school basketball in particular. Coming as a pretty much unknown sophomore, and by the time he gets to a junior, this is the player of the year, back-to-back years. Ends up becoming a McDonald All-American, Jordan Brand Classic selection, goes to the Nike Hoop Summit. Pretty much everything that falls in line with someone who's supposed to be one of the next ones. But he still had to do all of that. So like you said, yeah, a small part of the story, but don't discredit the other 99% that this person had to actually do.
And you always got to say it. I didn't wake up early in the morning. I didn't go run. I didn't put the shots up. All I thought was, he can be good. Literally, that's all that was just my thing.
If everything else went perfectly.
Yeah.
How many stories does everything go perfectly?
And that's
very few.
How many players have we had saying, oh, this is a great blah, 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 and then nothing happens out of it? Like, it's just, you always have to give credit to the player themselves for putting everything in. Government don't come in and do nothing.
They go to the draft.
Yeah, they go to the draft. But you know what I'm saying? It's like there's a lot of things.
They go to the games.
Yeah, they take their pictures. For sure.
The skyboxes have to be fun.
Boy.
It's a lot of hors d'oeuvres in the skyboxes. You know how expensive skybox hors d'oeuvres are?
Being on an airplane.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, all credit is always going to be VJ wanting the dream. One thing I do think that VJ had over a lot of the younger Bahamians is you had that relationship with Buddy at a young age.
Yeah.
Or you had that relation. You were able to see the Buddy, the Aidens go to the league, the Kais be in the league. So now all of a sudden, what once was Rick Fox in the league, no one really Bahamian in the league, XYZ, Ian Larkhart, Dexter Cambridge. You had those players in the league that would play one season, that's it. Now you see it and you're like, no, I could do it. I could be there. That's what it is. And I think him having that relationship with Buddy from a young age just helped propel him to be a professional quicker.
The representation literally matters. So everything you said there, absolutely. So the dream now for kids doesn't seem as far-fetched. And I actually think is somebody who always gets lost in the shuffle when we talk about this era and this generation. I actually think everything that happened with Magnum helped Buddy realize that dream.
Yep.
Because
I don't think people realize how good Magnum was.
He was so good, and this is one of those. Remember how we always talk about the Olympics as my watershed moment? Like, yeah, we got to form our own company because these people don't get it. I remember wanting to go follow Magnum's draft. I knew he wasn't going to be a first round pick. I knew he was going in the second round, but it's still noteworthy, right? Because you had I thought that story was amazing, and Magnum's story still is because he wasn't one of the ones that left early. The blueprint is you got to leave early and go. He literally had to finish school here, go to school for a prep year, and in 1 year became a 5-star recruit. Ends up going to LSU, automatically is in the Final Four with LSU, finishes his career at La Tech, but gets drafted in the second round by the Thunder, traded to the Pacers. And I remember following that summer league like that was the NBA Finals, and it came down to Magnum and Solomon Jones. And the Pacers went with Solomon Jones because he had 1.5 guaranteed, and they could just buy out Magnum for $500,000. And I was like, this is insane because if Magnum was playing today, he would have been the perfect small ball four.
Magnum was ahead of his time when it comes to basketball. If Magnum was 3 years later, he would have been in the league. He would have been and he would have stuck in the league.
He would have been great. Actually, I think if they made the other decision, I think he would have stuck in the league.
No, he would have still stuck. But at that point in time, it was Larry Bird who was the like Larry Bird.
but like I think just following that and him being from Grand Bahama and Buddy, it had to be a real dream for Buddy in that moment to say, wait, Magnum's there. Like he made it. I could do that. And so think about all the kids now, and even just Bimini specifically. Think about all of the basketball talent that's come out of Bimini. And I mean, the Bahamas is only one dot on the map, but Bimini is even smaller in perspective with that. But everyone is saying, yeah, this is a real possibility. It has to be.
Bimini to the world.
Now we got what, like 5? It has to be real now.
No, it is real because here's the thing. We have success now from Grand Bahama, right? Which is the second city. Nassau, we've had the success, which was after Grand Bahama.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to tell me Bimini, as VJ said, 7-mile island, population of less than 3,000 people.
Dexter Cambridge could say Luther had it first.
Yeah, no, Luther had it. But he wasn't a lottery pick.
No. It's different when we talking.
We're talking about the lottery pick.
Oh, well, then Nassau had it first because Michael Thompson.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. In our age. I got you.
But no, it's no disrespect to Dexter within Luther. But it just goes to show, like, you got Bimini, you got a Luther, you got Freeport.
It's everywhere.
You got it's the Bahamas, right? Still shout out to Bimini to the world.
Yeah, still.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, of course.
And I will always want them to represent.
We rock with Bimini.
Yeah, like, I always want people to represent their own.
We was away not paying attention. We was in New York, not paying attention to any of the social media back and forth, but we rock with Bimini. I don't care what y'all talking about.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Y'all talk y'all ish. That's all I can say.
Let's go back to Baylor and how that year kind of changed things and how it boosted his stock and changed the trajectory of things, because you can have, and we saw it happen before, you could have the accolades coming out of high school and that can absolutely plummet by the time you get to college. We've seen players go in and have all of the same list of things that VJ had: McDonald's All-American, Jordan Brand Classic, all of that stuff. VJ lived up to it right away, and we keep referencing how the national team stuff helped. But when you go from that and then you go against professional players in the summer before you step foot on the NCAA court, and then you walk into Baylor. First of all, the choice to even go to Baylor, we know how I feel about that one. We missed a moment. We as a people missed a moment.
Boy,
we as a people missed a moment. I'm just saying, VJ, the story turned out great, but if you went to Kentucky, the story would have been even better. Great story nonetheless. We seen all the TikToks. Great story. But he goes to Baylor and absolutely lives up to the hype. At first, it seemed, like you said, like there were times when he was deferring, because early on you had to worry about rotations, and Noam Chad Omer was the guy. That's the senior. That's the quote unquote, he should be the one carrying the team. But I think we eventually got to the point where you realize, no, VJ is the one that should be getting the ball in space, and this is pretty much should be the catalyst of our offense.
To explain VJ's college career, because he had plenty moments, right? I feel like even though he gave us all, I know he gave us all every time he was on the court. It wasn't a taking a play off type thing. I felt he should have been more assertive, show how assertive he can, because when he did show how assertive he was in college, he actually produced and put up very good numbers. And I mean like all numbers, points, assists, everything a Bahamian likes. Dunks for sure. Yeah. But I feel
top Bahamian stat.
I feel that he could have been more assertive. But I also feel, like I said, I feel that it just shows how high of basketball IQ he is, because he could say, you know what? Pass the ball, get the layup, make the right read, because sometimes it isn't always just going to the basket, putting your head down and going for a layup.
You know what it is, though, about a one and done? And this is why the draft is all about hope trafficking, right? Because you only get to show so much of what you can do when you spend that one season in college.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is projecting where you see that game's going to develop. There is no freshman that you see everything they can do in that 1 year. And if that is
Anthony
the case,
Davis?
You couldn't see everything AD could do in his 1 year, because you know what all AD did at Kentucky? Play defense.
You know what the best example I feel of?
AD was scoring like 9-10 points a game.
The best example in Kentucky basketball would be Devin Booker of what VJ is, because you did not see what Devin Booker, because he was coming off the bench. You didn't see his full game.
It was a loaded team. And then there's, when you're 19 and you playing on a stacked roster, you're going to try to fit in. Yeah, you're going to try to excel, but you're going to try to fit in. Your game, your maturity, so much things still have to grow. So it's all projection, right? It's just that when you start at this level where VJ is, that projection and that ceiling is high.
Yeah.
But I think he did. There were times when he had the little nagging injury at Baylor when we thought, well, he could shut it down and he'll be fine. He's showing everything that he needed to show. No. But, I mean, still getting your team to the NCAA tournament is a big deal. So if you have 2 lottery picks, you would think you'd get a team to the NCAA tournament.
You would hope.
Rutgers didn't do it. But the Baylor experience, what I like about it is I feel like that put him on a national stage, because there was a highlight every other night.
Well, being in the Big 12 helps.
Yeah, but still being able to, we've seen players in the Big 12 that wasn't on the national stage.
No. Like, but I'm just saying, being in, I would say this new Big 12, especially Houston making the championship game.
Imagine how much the SEC would help.
Big 12 is a bad basketball conference.
All right, so you want to finally get to draft night? I want us to go through all of that stuff before we actually get to draft night.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we get to draft, we got to go with the story of how we got to the draft as well. We weren't invited to the green room.
We were not invited to the green room. We were not invited anywhere. This was a new experience for us.
You know how you say it's like you go with hopes and dreams?
Oh, we was going to go anyway.
Yeah.
Like, we had no clearance and no paperwork to do anything. But we was just like, no, we go in there because we got to go there for this moment. And let me tell you all about the networking of John.
Hey.
The amount of calls, I have never seen it. You know what? It had to be like when world leaders have to go through a geopolitical crisis and they're constantly on the phone having to navigate through conversations. That's what John was like, because seeing that we didn't get credentials, first of all, it was a gut punch, because what are y'all talking about?
We've been to every single draft that mattered.
Second of all, that ain't happening. Like, we were going to go anyway. Like, we don't care what y'all talking about. We was going to try to figure out a way to get this done.
Well, we booked all that stuff the day before.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It was happening anyway. So we had the plan. It was going to work. Somebody was going to make sure we were going to be able to get the story, and we did. And you know when we finally went from unaccredited to accredited, the morning of media day.
The morning of media day.
So Tuesday, we were like,
Tuesday morning. I just know, like, so Tuesday morning comes, and I'm like, all right, now what are we planning? We're going to go by Barclays. We're going to go do a.
I want y'all to know we had a full plan on how we was going to do this without any accreditation whatsoever.
We had a full plan, and we were saying XYZ, we could get this, we can get that. We'll be good. We'll figure it out. Then now goes, oh, shoot. And mind you, this is a man that never has the phone on him.
Ever.
Bing. Oh, we got approved for credentials. I said, oh, well, that changes everything. Now we have to go shoot Barclays, and then we end up going to the media day with VJ. And to me, that's one of the things where I think it's my favorite part of the draft.
It's also one of my darkest hours.
Yeah. That's my favorite part of the draft right there, because at the end of the day, it's a more intimate moment. This is before he even knows what franchise he's with. You actually get to talk to a lot of people about VJ and see what they're going. And I, not that there's a lot of hate or anything. I just felt they were discrediting him a little bit. So, they're attacking. Once you discredit VJ a little bit, now you're attacking the Bahamas.
Let me tell you how we feel, right? And I always say all the time, being a homer don't mean that you're wrong. Whenever we watch one of these shows and they don't talk about VJ in the top 3, we always go like, well, what are y'all doing? Like, how are y'all talking about these other people 5, 6, 7 down the line? Are you forgetting someone? And we saw it happen with the ESPN coverage, and you could tell when the producer said something in someone's ear, because right before they were going to go to break, they kind of tossed in VJ at the end. And we watched that and we was like, these
Wait, the disrespect.
Like, do y'all know what's happening? But that's not the intimate moment I was talking about. Yes, the media availability on draft day. Yes, it is the best part of it, because that's probably the last time when you see them actually fully loose, fully candid. The nerves aren't there yet. Draft night has all the nerves.
Yeah, draft night is just the anticipation, knowing that this is the night. This is gonna, my life is changing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Tonight, where with that you're able to sit back, talk to them. Even after the fact, VJ was able to hail everyone who was from the Bahamas, and that just goes to show like the type of person VJ is. VJ is the type of person where, if you're from home, nah, I'm gonna make sure I get my time, do this, do that. And that's why, if you're gonna look at likability in the Bahamas, VJ is gonna overtake Buddy in likability in the Bahamas.
How do you measure that though?
Dunks.
I don't
Dunks. That's how you measure it. Because I
don't know, bro. Like overtake is a huge thing.
I understand it's a huge thing, but
you realize Buddy's an icon forever.
No, forever. VJ's an icon forever too. But you know what the best thing between Buddy and VJ is? Their interactions together.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's what's going to end up, maybe they might tie. But that's what, when people start seeing like some of the interactions, I can't wait to watch them on the court for the first time together, because VJ is going to be guarding Buddy.
Yeah.
It is going to be that type of situation.
But he calls all of them old right now. He calls Buddy old. He calls Eric Gordon old. He calls all of them old.
So that's the moment.
Don't call Aiden old, though.
No, that's the moment that I want to see on the court, because now he's going to have to lock Buddy down in the NBA. And Buddy
gotta have a point to prove.
Exactly.
Yeah. You gotta have a point to prove, because now you're coming for my job.
We're going for your moment before the draft.
All right, so to give a full backstory, like John mentioned, we were already scrambling, trying to, we gotta hurry up. What was the name of the hotel? Wherever it is, the hotel that they were getting.
The lot.
Yeah, the hotel where they had the media availability. We staying in Brooklyn, so obviously we gotta catch the train to get to Manhattan. We get off on the wrong stop, and we got to foot it out anyway, because we going to make it there. So again, there was a heat dome over the eastern United States at this point. So it is 100 degrees in New York, fluctuating between 102 and 100.
And at that point, it's the world, because we are in that particular part of the world.
We there. And so we making that, what was it, like a 1.5 mile trek once we get off the train, a mile to get to the hotel. So imagine what that looks like. Walking in 100-degree weather. We carrying backpacks because we obviously need our equipment, right?
Yeah.
So we get there, drenched, full of sweat. Like we've been playing 5-on-5 basketball in the park. Like that's what it was. And so we walk through, we get our credentials, still can't cool down because 100-degree weather. Then we get on the elevator. We got to rush upstairs because we heard that VJ was going to be there too.
I say VJ was going to be late anyways, and I was right.
Yeah, but we didn't. At that point, did you want to take that chance?
No, because we had to stand in front of the podium. You got
to box out, get an early spot. That's, if y'all don't know how this media game goes, you get there early, you got to set up, and you cannot move, because the minute you move, your spot is gone.
Yep.
So we got to rush upstairs, and we got to get to media availability. The elevator dings. There is, I would say, a turquoise aura. It's a combination between the Dolphins colors and your shirt. An aura in the elevator. And then there's just a smile. And it's Malika Andrews.
I'm so upset I didn't pull my phone out.
And Malika walks in the elevator. She's talking to her producer the whole time. And my heart just sinks. Because in my worst possible moment, Malika Andrews walks onto the elevator and stands directly in front of me. And I could just see you. I could see you just looking, and I could see you wanting to laugh. And I just look up at the sky and I'm like,
of course.
Of course. And this is where I say God gotta have a sense of humor. Because the one moment that I have to have this interaction with Malika Andrews, drenched in sweat, you could probably almost see straight through my 10YS t-shirt. And I'm just seething in the back of her like,
She's probably like, who's this idiot walking in New York City?
Why? Like, of all moments, I thought the draft was over from then. At that point, I just wanted to go back home because...
You didn't take an extra shirt?
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking changing right then. I just wanted to hurry up, get upstairs, and get that done.
Oh, yeah, I changed, like...
But see, this fate, John, because if I took the time out to go and change into the extra shirt, maybe I never run into Malika in the first place. Is that good or bad?
I don't know. Do you think she's going to say one day, ain't you the guy that was all sweaty in the elevator?
We don't know. We don't
That
know.
would be hilarious to have, because then you'll say, you know what? It was worth it.
We back.
Exactly.
And this is why we need to be at all these milestone moments, not just for our Bahamian athletes, but also for us. I want to go, so we go from there, we go to draft night.
Draft night is tired. Draft night.
Draft night is always interesting because you got to kind of figure out the labyrinth of Barclays Center. You got to figure out how you want to approach things. And you got to figure out, well, first of all, how long are we going to be there? Because when this pick actually happens. We knew VJ was an early pick.
Before we get to draft night, I just want to talk about the breaking news of Adidas. Shout out to Adidas. You know, I wear size 10.5. Stripes over checks.
Heady play.
You know how that goes.
Heady play. Stripes over checks.
But that was something like from months ago. We're like, oh, Adidas.
I ain't gonna lie. That was really breaking news to us that it was breaking news.
Yes.
Because when everybody was like, VJ's about to sign with Adidas, me and you looked at each other like, that ain't happened already?
I thought that happened over Easter.
I thought it happened over Easter because I was like, he had the camp in Bimini and it was completely all Adidas out, and kids got Adidas gear and Adidas sneakers, and there was Adidas signage everywhere, and there was posters saying VJ's big day in Bimini sponsored by Adidas. Everybody didn't know that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I guess we don't have internet or power here that they couldn't see that.
I was honestly confused. I thought we had missed something.
Yeah, no, when I
so
saw
I had
it, it's
to go
like breaking.
I had to go back and check the coverage to make sure. I was like, hold on, this actually happened,
you wasn't
right?
tripping.
I thought we was tripping because I remember we had the whole conversation. Does one of us go to Carifton, the other one go to Bimini for this? Because it was happening at the same time. But yeah, okay. So we were apparently either so in the loop that we was out of the loop on that one. That was it's okay. Yes. So let's go to draft night now. We figure out the labyrinth. We know VJ is gonna get picked early, but we don't have the same kind of access that we did before. And
no.
NBA media credentials, we have a lot of problems with y'all.
No.
This is one of them.
I feel, okay, so before you used to be able to take the floor, and from my understanding, you could take the floor like 2 hours before the draft. Anyway, there's a lot of rules, and you read the stuff and you're just like, all right, cool, whatever. My thing is, like, media seating was very limited outside because before it used to be like they used to have an area where you could sit.
Limited everywhere. It was limited in the workroom too.
In the workroom and everything, which isn't a problem. Like, you know what was good about this draft compared to other drafts that I had? They had that one-on-one opportunity to interview after the press conference.
Yes.
Like, to me, that is the biggest thing of like, all right, cool. Now it's like worthwhile coming to the draft because now you could get that one-on-one with them. Well, not technically one-on-one, but you get a scrum.
Close enough though.
With they, you know, it's just more loose. It's like press conference, you're sitting there, you're talking, blah, 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 but you could be more loose in that.
So I do like the fact that they brought that over to where the media workroom is because it made the flow a whole lot more accessible, right? And just thinking back to 2016 with how the buddy draft was and how you had to wait for him to go through the media car wash, making stop after stop after stop. And I literally had to like bully my way to just get a quick 2 minutes talking to him before he moved on to the other one. This one was more organized.
Shout out Julio.
Shout out to Julio. Julio's my guy. Wish he was still there because this one would have... Anyway, this one was a bit different in that sense. So I don't know. It's tough to balance and tough to determine which one was completely better. I will say though, the floor access is important. Make the floor access great again.
Yeah, no, I think the floor access, even if it's something where you could only get to a certain point, give the opportunity. And I feel it could almost be like, all right, you could have media sign up for XYZ, because we know once Cooper Flag got drafted, some of them, those media people in those media seats,
y'all didn't need it no more.
They're leaving.
Yeah. Once Dylan Harper got drafted,
when Philadelphia's on the clock, those Philadelphia reporters are gonna leave after so and so gets drafted. Like, if you asked us to be like, oh, we're looking at VJ, so we know it's between pick 3 and 6.
That's the thing. Y'all know, it goes back to the credentials thing. Y'all know we only there for one reason.
Yeah, we're there for one reason.
And we don't care about Cooper Flag getting picked.
No.
We don't care about any of the other stuff. We was there for one person, and that's it.
That's it. But like I said, I like the one-on-one thing. To me, the one-on-one thing where the teams could go, because that gives you, like I said, the opportunity to meet everyone who's covering Philadelphia, because we got to be real now. Philadelphia is going to be a home for us, and we need to have our connections in Philadelphia.
You got to network right away.
Yeah.
I call it joining.
For XYZ.
You got to go right away.
So you have to, and it's great to be able to meet. And, you know, one of the Philadelphia reporters went to Kentucky, so now I was able to bond.
That's my girl.
About Kentucky
I mean,
basketball.
not literally my girl.
No, basketball.
Yeah, it's my basketball girl.
Yeah.
So the biggest story from draft night, right?
VJ being drafted number 3.
Oh my God. It got out of hand. It got out of hand. And we started talking about how he was getting so much media attention. And the one thing, we split up during our coverage, right? John was waiting for VJ to come downstairs, do the interviews. I went on the concourse because I wanted to talk to Philly fans.
Shout out to that kid who knows ball.
Philly kids know ball, right? So I wanted to get immediate reaction from them just to see what they thought about the pick, because the fans are the one who's going to really determine how you're covered and how this kind of thing goes. Like, the media could think one thing, but the fans are going to be the overwhelming voice. And the one thing that, to a man, that they said was the authenticity of how much he cares was something that they respected and they got right away. And that came from him shedding a tear and having that outpouring of emotion on the stage as he was speaking. Like, that in itself, that was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen at draft night. That was great, right? Put a pin in it there. Social media got a hold of it, and now it's even worse, because what I call the trauma porn of just trying to take an already incredible story and doing the most with it. I feel like we could stop now. Like, I feel like we don't have to just straight make up things and put on TikTok. It's already a great story. We don't have to try and heap sugar on top of it.
No, and like I said, what makes it great is the emotion that's shown by VJ, because there's so many people who get drafted who know they get it. Like, VJ knew he was going to get drafted in the lottery, right? It was one of those things. And it was just a moment of realization that we've made it. All the hard work that was put in by my mom, because let's be real, and we could say, as you said earlier, every interview, my mom. But when he gets around us, my mummy.
Yeah, it was such a stark contrast, because in all the other interviews, so what John is talking about, in all the other interviews, he says mom, because he used to speaking to American media. When he gets to the interview with us, and I ask the first question, it immediately shifts to him saying mummy. Yeah, because that's how we talk.
But yeah, that's how we talk. But that's just how it is. Like, no disrespect to the dads out there.
We try. We do our best.
But it's like, you have something with your mom too, and it's just like, but the struggle they went through. So for him to tell that story on draft night, because if that story would have gotten out beforehand, it wouldn't have had as much power as it had him saying that on draft night. Yeah, because
it's the way he said it.
That stole the entire show. Cooper Flag number 1, yay! Hyper number 2, yay! Next thing you know, VJ lived off a generator, and everyone's just like what?
What the?
Yeah.
You know why? Because you see where basketball is trending. You have so many second and third generation basketball players who come from this lineage. I mean, Dylan Harper's Ron Harper's son. Yep. Like, even Cooper Flag didn't come from NBA players, but he came from a basketball family that was in VJ Edgecombe's story. And so I think people are so accustomed to seeing it in the other way now, where the rise to riches story is actually rare nowadays. When we were growing up, it was kind of commonplace. Yeah. Now it's rare because basketball is prep basketball is such big business.
Big business.
So him saying that is like, I didn't even have a plan for what I was going to say. This is just what I feel in the moment. And Philly fans love that
But
shit.
it's just refreshing because, like I said, that's my thing. The little kid you interviewed, VJ's a dog.
He's a dog.
He's a dog.
And
why do you think he has that mentality? Because a lot of it is how you were raised and the situation you were put in and how to get out of it.
I think it's whether you have a pool growing up or not.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. Obviously, VJ, inspiration for the next generation of Bahamian athletes. I don't even think it's just basketball players, but I think he's an inspiration for the next generation of athletes, period. Right? What I'm most excited to see in his rookie year, well, he's going to be playing this week. I think we need to make people aware that, first of all, Summer League in Utah starts July 5th.
He's putting 50 on Ace.
So we get to see VJ play right away. And look, prepare yourself because Summer League is a time of knee-jerk reaction. Whether it's good, whether it's bad. People are going to make determinations.
VJ putting up 50. I don't know what you're talking about.
I love the way you do this. But what are you most excited to see about him at Summer League? I think it's going to be more of the same we saw at Baylor because he's going to be the guy.
I feel in Summer League, he is the guy, and he is not going to have the leash on him to say, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. It's going to be, you go show us why we drafted you at number 3. You have free reign
to do whatever
you want.
And they don't even have a big incoming draft class. It's just him and Janai Broom.
Yep.
That's it.
And I feel like that VJ is going to have the freedom of pretty much go kill these punks on the court.
Yes,
that's what it is.
That is what the exact coaching is going to be. All right. We'll keep you all up to date on everything that's happening in Summer League. Oh, before we get out of here, when's the next time we're going back to the draft? What you thinking?
Well, you got Chris Brown Jr.
Even before him, though.
Yeah, you got AJ, you got Donnie.
Yeah.
You got Javez. I mean, I'm just thinking about we should be back in maybe 3 or 4 drafts in the next 8 years.
Things break right at Syracuse and at Ole Miss this year. Could be right back there in 2026.
Yeah, next year. Hopefully it's not a heat wave.
Hopefully it's not a heat wave. All right, we got to make plans to go to Bimini. Got to go hang with our people. That'll do it for this episode of The Accredited because we got our papers. Stay tuned to Summer League. It is going to be an incredible NBA season. Y'all know where to find info on that.
Bimini to the world.
Nobody could say, from Bimini to the NBA, you were struggling, now plenty money gonna make a change. From Bimini